What up everybody, Zach here. Welcome back to Case Digital, and in this video we're going to talk about the question of how can I get the length of a string in Python. So without further ado, let's hop right in and start coding. What up everybody? So like I mentioned, this video we're going to tackle the question of how can I find the length of a string in Python. And in this video I'm primarily going to talk about the two main ways that you could go about finding the length of a string in Python. So stay to the end because the second way is the most phenomenal way and probably the way that most people use to find the length of a string in Python. So without further ado, the first method is kind of just going to the fact of just the naive old way of like, well, let's count. So if I were to go through and count this string, we know, like I mentioned before, Python, when you do indexes, it's 0 base, but when you do lengths of everything, it's 1 base. So like for instance, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we know by just counting this that this string is 14 characters long. Okay, so how do we put that into code? Like how do we write that out to give us that through code? Now, the second way, like I mentioned, so stay to the end because the second way, that's going to be super easy. I'm going to show you how you can get that same number through the second way. But the first primary kind of naive way is, like I mentioned, is counting. But how do we do just counting programmatically? So to do that, we're going to create and use the concept of a loop. And I'm just going to use the for loop to do this. And so if you don't know about for loops I'll talk about later, or excuse me, loops in general, I'll talk about the different kinds and all that in a later video. But essentially, we're just going to do a loop to count. So what I mean by this is I'm going to do for and then char, so that's going to be a variable name in message. So what this kind of means is that for each, so basically it's going to go through for each character, it's going to assign, so like at index 0, at index 1, it's going to assign each of those at each interval, like H is going to get assigned to char, and then it's going to go loop back around and says now it's E's turn. And so each character in here will take a turn being assigned to char, and you'll get to use that. But essentially, if I were to just print this out, like kind of show what I mean, what this will do is it'll loop through, and each char, it'll print each chart and then go to a new line. So like I said, like when I go for each character in message, print it out. Meaning go to H, print it out. Go to E, print it out. And you can see that by here. So we can see H, print it out. E, print it out. L. So that's kind of how we can print it out and show it. But now, like we mentioned, we want to count the string. So I can just essentially just go count and set it equal to 0. And then rather than this print, I can say count plus equals 1. Meaning we've hit a character. Now go to the next character and add it up. So, and add 1 every time we see a new character. And when we do this, I can say print out, so print count, and this should be the value of 14 like we talked about. So if I do this, boom, 14. So that's kind of the naive approach. You just create a loop. You go through each character individually of the string, and you count them up as you see each new character. And that's great. I mean, it works. But there's a nice simple function. Like, I mean, we're using, 3 lines of code here to do all that? There's a nice simple one-liner in Python that essentially uses the len function, which is kind of short for length, the length function, essentially. And strings have the ability to use the length function, and it's really easy because if I just do print, len, parentheses, and then pass in our string variable, which is message, into that and print that out, that should be this. It's going to give us the same value that we printed up here. 14, which got printed here, and then this top 14, which got printed from our count. So those are the two main ways that you can count and get the length of a string in Python. And I would just encourage you to create various strings of various different sizes. Try both of these methods out. See which one you like better. Test it out. And just keep on coding. So have a great rest of your day. Please take the time to subscribe, hit the bell, and I appreciate you watching this video, and we'll see you later. Bye.